Welcome to Learning English with Common Ground International. My name is Misty Davidson. I'm an instructor at Common Ground, and I'm glad you decided to join us today. Our lesson is the simple past tense in English. How to form it, how to pronounce it, and of course how to use it, how and when to use it. Let's look at our objective. By the end of this lesson, you will know how to form the simple past tense in English for regular verbs. You will also know how to pronounce it and when to use it. And finally, you will know the past tense for some common irregular verbs. Unfortunately, English has a lot of irregular past tense verbs. Okay, how do we form the simple past tense? The simple past tense for regular verbs is actually pretty easy. Most of the time, we just add ed to the base form of the verb. The simple past tense is for an action that is already finished. We look for three signal words that tell us we need to use simple past. We can say yesterday. That means it's past, already finished. We look for the word ago, 2 days ago, 3 years ago, 5 minutes ago. And last week, last year, last month. Let's look at some examples. Yesterday, I called my sister. Call is the base form. We added ed. 2 days ago, I played soccer in the park. 2 days passed. I played. I added ed. Sarah visited Texas last month. This is February, last month in January. She visited. We added ed to the base form. We can put these signal words at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. We can say, I emailed my brother yesterday, or yesterday I emailed my brother. Both are correct. So we just add ed to the base form. Now, for verbs ending in y, it's a little bit different sometimes. If the base form of the verb ends with a vowel and y, we just add ed. Every day I play. Yesterday I played. Just ed. Every day I enjoy things. Yesterday I enjoyed this. Ed. If the base form of the word ends with a consonant plus y, we drop the y and we add ied. For example, carry, drop the y, we get carried. The y becomes I and ed, so we still have ed at the end. Hurry. I hurried yesterday. We drop the y, becomes ied. It still ends with ed at the end. If the base form of the verb ends with an e, you already have the e, all you do is add d. And the verb will still end up ending with ed. For example, move. You just add ed or you just add d and it becomes moved. We moved to a new house last year. Dance and becomes danced. We danced till the very late hours of the night. Okay, if the base form of the verb is spelled with a consonant, vowel, consonant, we double the ending consonant and add ed. Let's look at an example. Hop. To move on one foot. Consonant H, vowel O, consonant P. We make it a double P and add ed, and that's for pronunciation reasons. If we only had one P, it would say hoped. Very different meaning. Rip, consonant R, vowel I, consonant P. We double the consonant P and we have ripped. Otherwise it would say ripe. It's only for pronunciation. Now we're going to talk about how do we pronounce ed. Ed actually has 3 pronunciations. You always see ed. We know in English sometimes what you see and what you hear are different. We always see ed. We hear 3 different things. Sometimes ed says t as in top. Sometimes ed says id as in bid. Sometimes ed says d as in dog. Again, you always see ed. You hear different things. Let's talk about when you hear t. You see ed, you hear t. If the base form of the verb ends with the sounds of, not necessarily the letters, the sounds of f, k, p, ch, or sh, we say t. Puff. The little pig huffed and he puffed. P-U-F-F-E-D. We see E-D, but we say puffed. Sounds like puffed. Laughed. And I threw laughed in just to be tricky. It's a common word. It ends with a G-H, but we hear F at the end of laugh. We hear F. We add E-D, but we pronounce it laughed. She laughed at the funny joke. Pack, C-K, K. We see packed. It's pronounced packed, as if it were a T. Like ends with an E, but we hear a K sound. Like, liked. We pronounce it like a T, liked. Those are examples of when you see ED, but you hear T. A couple of more examples. Tip, tipped, pitch, pitched. The pitcher pitched the ball. Wish, wished. Box, boxed. All pronounced like a T. Now let's talk about when ED says id. When the base form of the verb ends in the sounds of d or t, we say id. Those are the only times. When this happens, we add an extra syllable to the word, and you'll see in the example. Want, I want this. I wanted. Want has one syllable. Wanted has two. We pronounce it wanted. End, the movie ended, it's pronounced ended. A one-syllable word becomes a two-syllable word in the past. Okay, so we've talked about when it says t, when it says id. For all the other verbs, most of the other verbs, it says d. Learn, learned. It's pronounced learned. I learned this. Enter, entered. Travel, traveled. Belong, belonged. If you're ever not sure, do I use the t sound or the d sound, I'm going to show you a little trick. Hold your hand over your Adam's apple in your neck, the bone that juts out, and say the base form of the verb. For example, say cook, cook, move, move. In one of them, you will feel movement or vibrations. Which one? Cook or move? If you felt it move, you're right. If you feel vibrations, use d. If you say d, you'll also feel vibrations. Vibrations go with vibrations. Moved. If you say cook, you don't feel anything. And t, you feel nothing. No vibrations go with no vibrations. If you feel nothing, use t. We use d more often. So if you're still unsure, use d. You will be right more often. You will be correct most of the time. Okay, we've talked about the simple past in the affirmative. Let's talk about the simple past in the negative. To say a negative statement in the simple past, we have a formula. Subject, didn't or did not, and base form of the verb. This is the same for first, second, third person singular, first, second, third person plural. Yesterday I worked. Yesterday I didn't work. Notice there is no ed on worked. It's didn't and base form. Last week you moved. Last week you didn't move. Okay, now he, she, or it is tricky in English, but it's not tricky in the past tense. He, she, or it studied Spanish 2 years ago. He, she, or it didn't study Spanish 2 years ago. We rented a cabin last week. We didn't rent a cabin last week. They watched movies on Netflix. They didn't watch movies on Netflix. Again, didn't and base form. To ask a yes-no question in the simple past. To ask a yes-no question, we have a formula. Did for all persons, subject, and base form of the verb. Did he pack his bags? Did he, and then base form. Answer, we use did, yes he did, or no he didn't. Did you work in a hospital when you lived in California? Did, subject, base form. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Did they talk to their parents last night? Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Did she like the movie? Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Okay, to ask a WH question, in the simple past, it's very similar to yes, no. You just put the WH in front. WH plus did plus subject plus base form. The same in all persons. Who did you call? WH did subject base form. My mother. Where did they move to? WH did subject base form to Idaho. Why did they move there? Again, WH did subject base form because the wife was offered a great job there. Okay, so you know regular verbs quite well. They're pretty easy. Let's talk about the irregular verbs in the past. Now, in the simple present, we only have 4 irregular verbs. Unfortunately, we have many irregular verbs in the past tense. Many of them, unfortunately, are the verbs that we use most often. Be is the most irregular verb in the past tense. Its pattern is different from all the other irregular verbs, so we'll talk about that first. It has its own pattern. Here is be in the simple past. Yesterday I was sick. I wasn't sick. Last week you were sick. You weren't sick. He, she, or it was sick 3 days ago. He, she, or it wasn't sick 3 days ago. So was, were, was, wasn't, weren't, wasn't. We were in Mexico yesterday. We weren't in Mexico yesterday. They were at work on time. They weren't at work on time. To ask a yes-no question with be, use this formula. Was or were plus subject. We reverse subject and verb. Were you sick yesterday? Reversed verb subject. Be subject. Were subject. Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Was he in school? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. To ask a WH question with be, use this formula. Almost the same, WH plus was or were plus subject. Where were you last night? WH, were, subject. I was at home. What was your last year's teacher's name? Mrs. Smith. Okay, so B is the hardest one, or the most irregular ones. Let's look at other irregular verbs. English has many irregular verbs in the past tense. Many of the most common verbs are irregular in the past tense. And the bad news, there is no special trick. I wish I could give you a rule or a trick to know them. You just have to memorize them. As you get to know English better, they will just come automatically. We're going to talk about some common irregular verbs in the past. I'll give you the verb, the base form, and then what the irregular verb is. We've talked about be already, were and was. We're going to talk about the 4 irregular verbs in the present. Have is had. Every day I have coffee. Yesterday I had coffee. Do is did. Every day I do my homework. Yesterday I did my homework. Go is went. Every day I go to work. Yesterday I went to work. Okay, bring, brought. Every day I bring something. Yesterday I brought something. Every day I bring my lunch. Yesterday I brought my lunch. Buy, bought. Every day I buy groceries. Yesterday I bought groceries. Come, came. Yes, every day I come here. Last week I came here. And become, became. He became angry when he got a traffic ticket. Catch, caught. Yesterday I caught the ball. Choose, chose. Yesterday I chose my classes. Cut doesn't change. Every day I cut my hair. Yesterday I cut my hair. Drink, drank. I drink water every day. Yesterday I drank water. Drive, drove. Eat, ate. Last week I ate dinner in a restaurant. Feel, felt. I felt sick yesterday. Give becomes gave. I gave him a gift yesterday. Forgive, forgave. He did something wrong, but I forgave him. Get becomes got. Forget, forgot. I got a new car. I forgot his name. Hear becomes heard. You just add a D to it. Keep, kept. I kept all the things I got. Know, knew. I knew what he was doing. Make, made. I made a cake. Pay, paid. I paid a lot of money for my car. See, saw. I saw him yesterday. Take, took. Understand, understood. Write, wrote. Let's look at some examples. Yesterday I drove home. Now look at the negative. It's not irregular in the negative. It's like any other verb in the negative. Yesterday I didn't drive home. Didn't and base form. These verbs are irregular only in the affirmative. In the negative, they're like any other verb. She saw her boss in the store. She didn't see her boss in the store. Didn't and base form. He paid in full for his order. He didn't pay in full for his order. So in the negative, they're not irregular. It's didn't and base form. Let's look at yes/no questions with irregular verbs. I'll give you a hint. They're not irregular. They behave like any other verbs. Did you have a good time at the party? Did, subject, base form. Did you have a good time at the party? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Did he do a good job on the project? Did, subject, base form. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Do you know him? Did, subject, base form. It's not irregular. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. WH questions. Where did you drive yesterday? WH, did, you, and base form, just like any other verb. To the store. How did you get to Alabama? Alabama is a state in the southern U.S. WH, did, subject, base form. We took a plane. Why did he buy that sweater? WH, did, subject, base form. Because he liked it. Are you ready for some practice? Let's try some practice. First, you'll see some words. They will end either in the sound, they will end with ed, but either in the sound of t, d, or id. Okay, the word cook. These are regular, they add ed. Say the past tense. Cook, cooked. Want, wanted. I hope you said that. What do you say for steer? Steered, What would you say for wiggle? Wiggled, For travel. Traveled, Decide. Decided. Even though it ends with E, it ends with the sound D. Decided, we add an extra syllable, it's id. Work. Worked. Zoom. Say zoom in the past tense. Zoomed. Love. Loved. Okay, now you're going to fill in the blank with the correct word in the past tense. Some will be regular, some will be irregular. Some will be negative, some will be questions. My father worked at a university for many years. If you have worked, you're correct. A regular verb, nothing special about it. Number 2, I not see him at the concert last night. I didn't see him at the concert last night. See is irregular, but not in the negative. Blank you blank. Blank you study for the test. A yes or no question. Did you study for the test? What's the answer? Yes, I did, or no, I didn't. She and then carry her groceries home. If you have carried where the Y becomes an I and you add ED, you're correct. So it's regular, but it ends with a consonant Y. She carried her groceries home. Where be he yesterday? Where was he yesterday? We, the verb have, a great time on our trip. We had a great time on our trip. Irregular verb. The child cut his finger. We want to put this in the past. And if you said nothing changes, you're correct. The child cut his finger. We can tell whether it's present or past by the context. Number 8, my brother, be verb, late for work. If you have was, you're correct. My brother was late for work. Number 9, I, negative of be, happy with his decision. I wasn't happy with his decision. Last night they go out for dinner. Last night they went out for dinner, irregular verb. Good job, everybody. Let's do some review. To review, we formed the simple past tense for regular verbs by adding ed. We pronounce ed 3 ways, t, id, or d. And be is the most irregular verb in English. It behaves differently than other verbs in the simple past. English, unfortunately, has many irregular verbs in the simple past. To form the negative in the past or ask questions in the simple past, we use did and the base form of the verb for all persons, for all verbs. This is the same for every verb except for be, and we've talked about be already. Well, there you have it, everybody. The simple past in English. Thank you for tuning in to Learning English. I'm Misty Davidson from Common Ground International. I'm glad you joined us today and hope to see you soon. Thank you and goodbye.